So for this iteration, I instead made a new level, and this is because I realized from the gray box from the last round that once I published it to allow you to see it, I couldn't access it or change anymore. And that was okay because I felt that I had already gotten a few playtesters in there, and I thought it was a pretty solid level. So I created a new one, and this is going with my kind of tutorial theme. So this is another tutorial in the series, and so I'm trying to introduce different mechanics. So let me just start over here. And so there's a few things to note in this first part, which is why I started over. So first, you see the ice immediately breaks that the player is on, and you also see that there is a kind of mine that the sludge monster activated, and so that was going with the idea of making the monsters interact with things first. And so here I introduced the little green teleport, and before from the previous round we learned about the fire and the ice, and so this is just completing the three actions. And so the player might be confused with what this does, but if they notice that here it increases the one, then that might encourage them to try it out either direction and find out that it is a solution to the problem that they're facing in getting the coins, which they know that they are required to get from viewing this right here, this door at the beginning. I increased the number of checkpoints for this one. This round has 2 checkpoints, and that is because after each major kind of achievement, each major challenge, I wanted the player not to have to repeat themselves. Here, the player sees the incoming challenge, and that's just because this camera didn't seem to want to go up all the way. So what I'm trying to teach here is, again, seeing this interaction with the reflectors, which I already saw, and learning this mechanic that spikes, this first spike impacts the shots, whereas these little circle guys there don't. And again, a new mechanic here is these are not really mechanic, this is a new monster, are these exploding guys, and the player first sees them exploding a crate. So this is just so that the player isn't surprised by anything. They also see for the first time that little cannon type thing in the corner, which is giving out the monsters. And they also realize that these blocks which fall down, they respawn. And then yet another mechanic, this timer and this cannon, which is again the same thing that they just saw, but shooting a different thing. And the important thing to note here is that you can actually push these, and this way I'm forcing the player to interact with that. There are a few save like catches. So here, if the player falls down, they don't immediately die. They just, have to redo it. And then also here, if they fall while pushing the little block dude, the cannon, they have a retry, and here they notice, oh, I need to activate the switch, and this is so that they only can go through this path if they do fall down, and not just as a shortcut. Oops. And one problem I have with this, again, this editor is that it is not nice to the people who are playtesting. So here none of the checkpoints actually activate, whereas if I was playing this in a published round, then I would have been saved from going through this repetitious part, which is exactly what I was trying to do with having that checkpoints where they are. So I had a few playtesters already. I think I had one or two, and for the most part, their comments were it's a lot more difficult, but it's still fun, and it's just requires more thinking too. So let's see. So especially this part with the moles here was a little bit confusing. So maybe on a iteration, then I can try and figure out a way to make this not as confusing. I've also tried to make it so that players do not, what do you call it? They can't cheat. They can't kind of shortcut things. And so here you learn about this little trap guy as well as the shield. And in the iteration in the actual game, your introduction to that trap is right at the end of a level when you have 0 health and there's no checkpoint. And so I wanted a way so that the player would not be hurt, or at least not feel like it was that kind of gotcha. And so that's why their interaction with it is with this shield, when they have the shield activated, and then they realize that that's a trap. And I did this instead of using a monster because monsters do not activate this, unfortunately. But overall, I think that I did a good job in introducing a lot of different mechanics. It might be a little bit too much, and so in the next playtest, I want to have the players play both the first level and the second level and then see what they think, because that's another important part, is having congruency, I guess, between the levels. But yeah, that's it for this round. Thank you very much.